this Trundle and Vi reroll comp has been floating in and out of the meta through most of set 6 so far, even all the way back to PBE, but I think it's taken a bit of time to fully optimize what the best variations of this comp are. Relatively confident here at this point that we know the best in slot items for Trundle, but we've seen compositionally different variations that have 6 scrap or 6 bruiser variations. But what caught my eye this morning was a new variation of the Vi Trundle reroll comp that included Zac, Lysandra, and Echo rerolls as well, opting for kind of a middle ground between the capped out bruiser and capped out scrap versions of the build that play 4 bruiser and 4 scrap with 3 chem tech. And I played a game earlier today at Diamond 2 Elo on the NA server, piloting this build, and just wanted to do a general commentary of what my experience was and what I was thinking about as I was playing through this comp live on stream. So this video is just going to be a live walkthrough, a live commentary of me watching back this game, talking about what I was thinking of, a few things that were going through my head as I was playing through the game, why I decided to play the comp, what different decision points look like, and hopefully it will be helpful to kind of learn what's going through the mind of Diamond Masters level player here thinking through team comps. So I do apologize. There is a little bit of background noise in this video here. I had my mic on, so there is sometimes some typing noise. I'll do my best to mute that where possible here. But let's go ahead and just get into it with the carousel. So in this set with carousels, I've mostly been trying to go for the defensive items. So you see I grab a chain vest right off the bat. I've found that they've just been a little bit easier to play around, a little bit more flexible. Chain vest in particular does give you the shot of getting another bramble or another chain vest to play bramble, which I think is like probably my #1 item I'm trying to build in most games here so far in set 6. So yeah, apologize again for some of the typing noise there. In future videos, I'll make sure that the mic is off for the stream here, so we're not picking that up. But very first thing that happens here is you see I grab the cloak. Immediately jumps into my mind that I might be interested in playing Trundle. Anytime I land a cloak very early, I start thinking Trundle just because his 3 best in slot items are the BT, Runins, and QSS, which are all cloak items. So, but do nab that Caitlyn pair right off the bat. Always, always, always you want to grab pairs early on. Obviously, exceptions to every rule, but definitely want to grab pairs early on here when possible, especially in 1-4. At least my playstyle, trying to win streak in general, always trying to shoot for that. So we grab the BF sword off of the minions on 1-3. So we've got BT that's pretty much ready to be made here. I'm actually going to pause the video quickly here and bring that back just a bit here and talk about these augments because I made this decision really quickly. I'm already starting to think Trundle here. I see the BT that is pretty much ready to be made here. Very easy to go for the weak spot at this particular point. Weak spot in general ends up going really well with AD comps because you get basically the free Last Whisper and healing reduction here. So I do think in general it's better to take some time thinking about these. Watching this back, would wish I would have thought about this a little bit longer before just making a decision, but I do still think weak spot is probably the best overall pick here. So made that decision really quickly, but just love that armor reduction and healing reduction there. So I'm not all in on Trundle at this particular point. With hindsight, I know that I'm playing that comp, but playing the game live here wasn't all in. Grab the Warwick and Camille just to grab the Challenger synergy. I do think that at least at this particular point, a Warwick game was definitely still on the table here as well, with possible, QSS and Titans if you hit the right item. So. But obviously quite a bit of extra time here as I blitzed through my augment selection again. So always, I highly recommend, really spending the time they give you to choose your augments and think about the implications of all 3 choices, because a lot of times, at first glance, what you think is the best choice is not always the best augment choice. So we grab gold here. Anytime you get gold and enough gold to buy the units off the shop, definitely always best to do so. We get an opportunity to 2-star the Caitlyn, which is great, and we land Trundle. Hitting Trundle at this point with BT pretty much ready to be made is a home run. At this point, I am almost willing, especially with the weak spot augment, almost willing to just basically say that I'm going all in on this comp. I level up and to grab the challenger synergy. I like to play aggressive, put pressure on the lobby here, slam the BT, and am going forth here into the game. So one other thing that's nice too is Caitlyn and Trundle is a pretty nice combination early in the game here, mostly because of the Enforcer. We know that we are basically looking for Vi, and when we land Vi, we get the 2 Bruiser, and we can play with the 2-star Caitlyn, who's just a very powerful unit overall early. So a very nice unit to have 2-starred. Strong composition here at this point in the game with Trundle and the BT. So one thing I should be doing at this point too, and made the mistake, I should be scouting to see what other augments people took. Sometimes there can be augments early that may be a signal that somebody's looking to play Trundle. Scrap or Bruiser augments can sometimes give that indication. So, and a pretty good roll here on the shop. We get Bodyguard and another scrap unit. Just a much stronger front line to play around here. With Trundle and Caitlyn, definitely not so concerned with damage on this particular board. So landing the Blitz and Darius to get Scrap and Bodyguard in there is pretty good hit here. And we get lucky also to go up against somebody who looks like they're basically open forting to probably play Cat or Assassins or something like that. So get the free win here, which is exactly the way that I like these early games to go. We get the win streak going right off the bat. So. And we land some another awesome board here. So at this particular point, obviously we want the Vi. I reach for the Vi first. But again, I wasn't intending to go forward here and play this comp right off the bat. And it wasn't until I saw this Scholar, this Lysandra here, that I started thinking about that variation of this build that I've seen that included Lysandra. So again, I do think after having played this today, I think this is probably one of the stronger variations of this particular comp. But it is at this point in the game that seeing this Vi and Lysandra shop here that I really start to think that I may just be able to go completely all in on this particular comp and this particular variation of the comp. So ditch the Darius, put in Vi, we get a little bit of extra synergy. We get the Bruiser and Enforcer instead of the Bodyguard in there. I grab the Lysandra, maintain 10 gold, and am definitely looking forward to playing the full version of the comp that we saw here at the start of the video. So I have eyes on basically a variation of Trundle, Vi, Echo, Lysandra, and Zac as my core units that I'm, at least in particular, probably going to be re-rolling for 3 stars for. So. And just a very, very strong board overall at this point in the game. So we have the 3 win streak now, and we go on to the carousel. For this particular carousel, because I'm win streaking, I'm trying to make a new item. And with the chain vest on this particular comp, it actually isn't an item that is used very easily by this comp. So I'm looking ahead and trying to think about what I could possibly pull out of this. I look for things like Titans was an option. Not looking for Sunfire or anything like that, since I already have some healing reduction with Weak Spot. I actually have my eyes on this tier once my turn comes up as an opportunity to make a Frozen Heart here for the Inevitable Echo was the item. It's also a very good way to just get rid of a tier in this comp where you're not really using it. We get lucky to land second Lysandra. Definitely want to hold on to that. Very interested in playing this particular version of the comp at this point. So the level and throw in Poppy there is also just purely focused around trying to keep the win streak going at this particular point in the game. I have 3 wins heading into the second half of the round here as well, so really want to keep that win streak up through the end of the round. We're not going to hit 20 gold because I've already made a decision to keep the Lysandras here, so we can doesn't really help us too much to go into the round at 15 gold with something that we can do to improve the board. So very simple and kind of cost-efficient move to increase the value of this board overall is to hit the level, throw in the bodyguard, add the synergy, and add just an additional unit too at this point in the game. By 2-5, you are definitely going to be facing other players that are level 5. So I think if you are win streaking, it can make a lot of sense. You can do so while also maintaining econ to push the level. In this case, I hit a player who's lost streaking with Mercs, and it probably didn't really matter anyway, but I think still the right process decision. It also allows me in some ways to hold on to the Lissandras. Holding on to 6 gold worth of Lissandra on the bench at this particular point in the game is pretty expensive, but it isn't as expensive when you are investing the gold to win streak. So that's what's on my mind. I think also at this point, I probably should be slamming Frozen Heart. The win streaking hard enough here that putting that item on a particular unit, I think it would make a lot of sense on Blitzcrank, who's not going to ultimately end up being in the comp, or even the Poppy would have been a pretty sharp idea. So. In this particular case also, I think optimal strategy might be selling one or both of the Lissandras. They are a little bit expensive here, up against 18 gold. I'm not going to end up selling either and fail to hit 20 going into Krugs. Sacrificing some econ here to basically force this variation of the comp. A 3, I either have to make a sacrifice of a Vi pair or a Lissandra pair to get to 20 gold here and make the decision not to. Definitely think that might be the wrong decision. But it allows me to maintain the pair for both units at this particular point in the game. But sitting at 19 gold, heading into Krugs really feels bad. So maybe not the best decision there overall. And now we have Krugs round. Most interesting thing, at least in the shop at this particular point, is the MF. Definitely thinking about buying that to get the sniper buff here. Also, doing a quick round of scouting here, not seeing too much of concern, but there is a Lissandra player here, and also somebody that's built BT. So the two people right behind me, we have a Lissandra player that's already itemized Lissandra and a BT built. BT isn't really in the meta apart from Trundle comps, so it definitely catches my eye that somebody has slammed it early because it often means that they are probably at least considering Trundle. Considering that was really my first time scouting this lobby at this particular point, I'm pretty lucky to see that nobody else is looking like they're going to play this comp, or at least exactly play this comp, because it's possible that I could have made a mistake there. And let's see, so quickly here, we hit the Echo. I know that I want to play Frozen Heart Echo. I've basically invested in the tier there or the chain vest on the carousel to create that particular item. I have a 5 gold win streak, and even though it is 3-1 and I have to spend an inefficient 2 gold, right? When you roll it at 3-1, generally you have to press the reroll button, or not the roll, sorry. When you level at 3-1, typically you have to press the level 1 extra time. You lose a little bit of additional gold. But to maintain this win streak on a unit that is strong already, Echo's a great unit, and also make use of an item here, figured it was worth it to hit that button. So we do. And at this point, actually, I start rolling again here a little bit. I've basically made the decision that maintaining 20 gold here, I have multiple pairs here. I have the Poppy pair, I have the Vi pair, I have the Lissandra pair, and maintaining all these pairs with a 5 gold win streak to me feels like it's actually a little bit risky, so I make the decision to roll down. The most important thing when you're thinking about these roll downs is just to make sure that you have an intention behind doing this. At a 5 win streak, I am willing to play very aggressive to maintain that streak. I know that I've got a strong board here. I know that I've got pairs to hit if I roll down, and I'm willing to invest some gold to get there. I think my intention here was to pair one of these units together, or at least make the 2-star unit of any of these units, Trundle, Vi, or Lissandra, and roll down to 10 gold. But I actually think I end up going a little bit further than that because I hit a Zac pair. So I hit the Echo pair and the Zac pair, and it takes me getting all the way down to Trundle here. All the way down to 0 gold to hit the Trundle. Right after that, it hit the Vi, and I feel like I kind of got paid off. This game definitely could have gone very differently if I ended up in a situation where I was staring down pairs of Lissandra, Echo, Zac, Vi, and Trundle with 0 gold, all at 3-1. Would have been maybe a little bit unfortunate, and I probably inevitably hit those pairs regardless. But the best thing that happened here was being able to 2-star both Trundle and Vi, make this board much stronger. I get the Lissandra in, who's just a strong unit, not necessarily a synergy unit at this particular point, and am able to maintain the win streak against another very strong player in the lobby at this particular point. So it's worth it. It was a risky move, but I think it is riskier at this particular point to do nothing there, especially with that many pairs sitting on the bench. So want to buy this Zyra to get Scholar. I don't need 3 scrap at this particular point. I'm eyeing selling Blitzcrank to get out of that, but can't afford it, so we let it pass us by. And on the next shop, we get Heimerdinger, who's able to give us Scholar buff. So everything at this particular point is really about storing the units that I'm going to need for the comp to be successful, and otherwise trying to play the best board as possible. Weighing the difference between Sniper and Scholar here, I ultimately end up going with the Scholar buff. I don't think Caitlyn was doing very much damage in these fights, apart from just getting the 1 ult off, so end up going with Scholar instead. Again, putting these items down, these single items on these units here, is really just pure win streak fuel. In particular, I have Scrap active, so I think using Scrap with Trundle, putting the glove on him to inevitably make QSS just makes a lot of sense. I do end up coming to regret the Lissandra Chain Vest at some point. I think that one is maybe a little bit over-eager there, but really just hoping to win streak, put another item on the board, boost Scrap a little bit, and inevitably make a GA here. On the second augment decision, this one's a little tougher, and I spent a lot of time thinking about this one here. We'll go ahead and let this play. I'm weighing all the options here. I think one of the unfortunate things is I haven't seen a socialite pass through my shop at this particular point, and I don't really know exactly where the spotlight is. I do think I end up scouting briefly here in order to see where that spotlight is, and if I don't, I should. So always recommend checking on that socialite spotlight if you ever get the socialite role here. I think Thrill of the Hunt and Enforcer are both interesting. In the Enforcer case, I'm thinking about inevitably dropping Caitlyn and playing just Vi. Typically, this comp is played with only Vi and no other Enforcer, and Enforcer is so impactful, such a good synergy. Very interested in that. And Thrill of the Hunt is just a very good win streaky, mid-game buff kind of synergy. I have BT made already. I'm not super concerned about building for sustain here, but the Thrill of the Hunt is just a very good snowball-y type synergy on a team comp where I'm already expecting to win most of my fights at this particular point. So was really weighing all the options here, really thinking pretty hard about this one. And I think I ultimately end up going, yes I do. I go with the Enforcer, and I actually end up using it as an opportunity to get the Caitlyn out of the composition now to econ up to 20 gold. So while Caitlyn has been pretty valuable to me at this particular point in the game, I don't need 3 Enforcer. She's starting to get outscaled here by the mid-game by 3-3, and use the opportunity here to get up to 20 gold and make sure that the econ gets going back on track. Zac doesn't really offer any additional synergies, doesn't complete Chemtech, doesn't give me 4 Bruiser, but is just a strong 3 gold unit and fits in nicely here. So and keep the win streak going here, have the 20 gold, and I'm feeling good. At this particular point, main thing I'm doing is just trying to play the best board possible and get myself back up to 50 gold to start rolling for some of these units here. I have 2 particular items I'm interested in making here, but primarily QSS, since I've already invested into the glove on Trundle. So grabbing that cloak is the ideal. Would have also been willing to grab a sword if it fell to me to build GA on Lissandra. I do think my item investments into Lissandra was definitely a little over-eager here. You always want to itemize those units that you have leveled the most. right? And knowing that I've just got, I think I got excited seeing the early Lysandra pair, but I know there's a Lysandra roller in the lobby because I scouted it earlier here, and it was probably a bit of a mistake to just invest in Lysandra this early, but hit a couple additional units, make the item on Trundle, and again, feeling pretty good at this particular point in the game. And definitely the goal here at this particular point is I'm just thinking about getting back up to 50 gold and rolling probably at 6, depending on what items I have, for that Trundle 3 and for Vi 3. And this is really just a really strong board that is difficult to beat through a lot of the middle game. I believe that this is probably the best version of this comp that I've seen. There are no real weak units in this comp. Both the 8 bruiser, 6 bruiser variations or the 6 scrap variations require you to throw in some units, whether it's Ezreal or Alawi, that just don't feel great in the team comp. Every unit that ultimately makes its way into this comp, and I don't even think I end up with the totally completed version in this game, just feels great to play and is really strong. So just a strong comp overall. I do think I am wasting a little bit of opportunity here sitting at these 39 and 29 point gold totals going into next rounds, holding on to things like Zac and Echo and Lysandra pairs. Those units will probably come back, and I'm not even level 7 yet. The interest probably should have been to get to level 50. Actually, in this particular case, I win, so I hit 40. But the round before, I failed to hit 30 gold going into it, and holding on to some of these units that are better rolled at level 7 anyway is probably inefficient. But we hit the Echo 2 here, and pretty nice spike there overall. And excuse my tapping here. Take the volume down a bit. So we get quite a bit of items here out of the level 3 PvE round, but unfortunately not really any items that we're looking for. Would have loved to have figured out a way to build a Runins there, or at least get some components for a Runins. Not a lot of great items, but we are now at level 50, or 50 gold, level 6, and we can start slow rolling for our Vi 3 and our Trundle 3 at 6, and we complete the 2-star units of Lysandra and Zac. So this board feels very strong, even with a 10-win streak. I am feeling pretty confident about running this particular board. We will see if that ends up paying off here. But having hit both of those 2 stars, I'm feeling relatively confident about the next fight. And unfortunately just run into the wrong opponent at the wrong time. I actually don't even think this guy was that strong, but he does have Knife's Edge. Very good augment for his particular game. And he's level 7, and I think the big mistake I made in that particular last fight there is just not recognizing the fact that if I was going to stay at level 6, I really needed to probably all in with a 10 gold win streak, or a 10 win streak. It was really risky to give that up, and to not even try to 3-star one of these units and to just stay at level 6 was probably the big mistake there. It's possible even 2-star Heimer might have been enough, but unfortunately just hit the wrong guy at the wrong time. I also noticed that guy was playing Trundle, which caught my eye. Again, not enough scouting from me early in this game for somebody playing a reroll comp, so end up doing some scouting there for Trundle. And I don't think that guy's actually playing Trundle. He built GA, which isn't a very good item on Trundle. I just think he's got the 2-star, so he's playing them. I do at this particular point end up leveling up all the way to level 7 and looking for a unit to throw in. I'm looking for either a Bruiser or a Chemtech. So again, if we back this up just a tad, when you roll down, always important to define what you are looking to do with your roll down and how much you're willing to roll down for it. So when I hit level 7, I'm willing to roll down for 230 gold, really probably to hit either Heimer 2 or a Bruiser or a Chemtech to put into the team composition. And I fortunately hit the Urgot basically immediately here. The dream is obviously Dr. Mundo, who gives you the Chemtech and Bruiser. That's the next core unit that fits into the comp. And I hit Vi as well. Sitting at 29 gold here, definitely willing to sell Heimer, who doesn't actually really fit into this comp, if I lose here. And I slam Jeweled Gauntlet. At this particular point, I'm seeing that I'm likely to get Vi 3 pretty quickly and willing to itemize her. So start thinking about itemization of Vi. I like the Jeweled Gauntlet play here. I think now the trendy thing to do with this comp is to build Vi like a tank. But originally when this comp was on PBE, Vi was the secondary carry here and was worth itemizing in general. So for damage specifically. So I throw the Jeweled Gauntlet on her there. Another lucky shot or a nice roll, a bit of a high roll here. We get Vi, a couple more Vi units. We get Zac and Singed. And I buy Singed in particular because he's a lot cheaper than Urgot. I think this is a really good thing to do if you can recognize that a unit is mostly just being a trait bot for you. Like in this case, Urgot's not putting out any damage. I just know that. But you can also check the damage charts here too. It's a good resource. But he's just a trait bot. I don't need a 4-cost trait bot. A 1-cost trait bot will do just fine, and I think this is a pretty good idea in general to keep an eye out for that when units are just filling trait bot kind of roles for you. So weighing the options of selling him here and then decide to go for it and actually end up trying to roll to hit that Vi. I hit the Zac instead, which incentivizes me to roll again to 20 gold, and I grab the Lysandra and end up sticking roughly here at the 20 gold mark. So again, just keeping in mind those ideas of those benchmarks, 10, 20, 30, 40 gold, defining a point where defining what you're rolling for and defining how far you're willing to roll down will help save you from blowing your whole game here at the wrong time. I'm also only on a 1-win streak at this particular point, so I'm less concerned with forcing a win at this point. 1 win, 1 loss, 1 win, 1 loss is never good, but I don't have a streak to defend at this particular point, so totally fine taking a loss there. Thinking about my next item, again, at this particular point in the game, I want to make sure I'm making items that have a point in my build. I have a tier sitting on the bench, having already begun to itemize Vi, and I'm 1 Vi away from Vi 3. Another item that is at least pretty decent on Vi with a small mana cost is the blue buff. So I'm immediately eyeing that blue buff. And I think when you are win streaking, or when you have a strong board, I'm still first in this lobby, I think it's a really good idea to look at carousels from the standpoint of what items can you make that help you now, rather than a common mistake I see people make all the time, especially when playing reroll comps, is trying to force particular itemizations. So with that last carousel, by not grabbing a cloak or a bow, which I may not even have had the opportunity to do, I do sacrifice probably my ability to optimally itemize Trundle. And I think ultimately what we end up seeing from this comp is that team composition optimization here is stronger than the item optimization. I think Trundle has more item flexibility played into this comp because his 3 best-in-slot items are a little bit less requisite for the comp to be successful. I do flip sides on this particular fight too, as well, changing where Trundle's sitting and where the positioning of the army looks like overall. In general, another thing I did a poor job of in this particular game is scouting and seeing which players I was likely to play next. I think I probably could have avoided certain bad matchups or certain bad positional matchups by paying a little bit more attention to that. One thing to improve upon the next time I play. And another opportunity for synergies at this particular, or not synergies, for augments at this particular point, less confusion here or less uncertainty with what I'm going to do. The Chemtech emblem in particular, not super helpful. I've got the 3 Chemtech that fit very cleanly into the comp. Makeshift armor, not something I'm looking at doing here because I know I'm going to be itemizing a lot of units. Trundle's itemized. Lissandra's carrying a chain vest. Echo has an item, and Vi has an item. Lots of spread out items in this particular comp. Titanic Force is actually also just a very good augment to put into this particular team composition. But one thing you will see me do here is checking to see how many units I have over the 1400 maximum health. I think it's always important to actually look, so I'm checking for maximum health here, and most of my frontline units all have 1400. Echo is 5 health off, I believe, so the Titanic Force is really just a home run here. So I think Titanic Force is actually generally considered probably one of the best in slot augments for this comp period, so just a very good pick there. But I am happy that I spent a little bit more time than I did on the very first synergy of the game, or the very first augment of the game, than and actually thought about the advantages to particular options there. And excuse my loud breathing again. Very quick scan of augments here. At this particular point, not going to change what I'm doing very much, but a quick look through to see what others are playing, what other augments people have chosen. And this board has gotten really strong with Titanic Force at this particular point. Lose this fight against somebody who has gone 8 and gone all in, but at this particular point in the lobby, really start to see the comp take off here. So we hit the Vi 3. Number one goal is still getting back up to that 50 gold. I know have some pairs sitting down here very close to that Trundle. Need to get back up to 50 gold. We are fine on our health too. That's the other important thing to remember here. We are number one in the lobby. We have 77 HP. Health is a resource in TFT, and we do not need to convert gold into HP at this time. We have plenty of HP. We can, in effect, convert HP into gold. So, and I apologize for the laggy display here as well. I'll figure out a better way to present this in the future. But hit a better Scholar there, so we just grab Janna. Very easy. And we are hoping at this particular point to just hit the Trundle 3, so we can go 7, or so we can go 8. And it takes a little bit, but we roll down to 30 to hit the Trundle 3. I probably would have rolled past that just to get to that Trundle 3. We're going into stage 5 now, where people are going to be hitting the final versions of their boards. We're going to be seeing 2-star 4-cost units, probably some 5-cost carries at this particular point, and want to make sure that we are well equipped to beat these boards. So throw the cloak on Trundle as well to take advantage of scrap. I do that just a little bit too late. I actually think that is also potentially a mistake at this particular point in the game. I think throwing the cloak on Janna just to capitalize on the scrap might have been a better idea. At this point, the items I'm getting from Carousel and the Dragon in Stage 5 are going to be completed items. So in a lot of ways, I lose my ability here to potentially fully itemize Trundle, which is my 3-star carry. So we are level 7, and I'm rolling at this point for Zac 3, Lissandra 3. 1 Zac off. So I hit the Zac, and I'm all good there. Probably very minor, but probably didn't need to press roll one more time. I end up holding on to these Echoes and Lissandras a bit too long. By 5-2, knowing I have 4 Echoes and 5 Lissandras, it is more or less pretty clear that I'm not going to hit those 3-star units, not with 0 gold. And I think selling them to get Econ going back up is probably the better idea, especially seeing how strong this board is at this particular point. But I do hold on to these units for quite some time here. But a mistake there. At some point, you are not going to 3-star everything. And knowing when to cut some of that bait there, I think can be pretty sharp. Looking at my synergies here as well, realizing that I'm sitting at 3 scrap. The inevitable unit that fits in here at level 8, should I get there, is Jinx. Jinx completes scrap and also is just a very strong unit overall, but not entirely sure how I'm going to get there. thinking about level 7 boards that potentially might be stronger than this one, but doing a little bit of looking into that Titanic Force to see what that's giving to my Trundle as well. Jinx also does give sister buff to Vi, which a damage Vi is quite a strong unit to add in there. I lose a minor win streak here, unfortunately. Just can't break through the Bramble Vest on this Kassadin. And we go to the next carousel, and this is really when I start noticing that I'm not going to be able to itemize Trundle. I actually make a really big mistake overall in this particular carousel. I think I want the Thieves' Gloves on Zac, which I think is the right decision, but don't really come up with a backup plan of any kind here of what I want apart from that. And the Thieves' Gloves get taken right in front of me, and I completely freeze up. I think Guinsoo's or Deathblade on Trundle, had I not already itemized them, would have been good. But I just completely freeze up. I end up with the Last Whisper, which is probably one of the worst items that was sitting out there for me, given that I already have Weak Spot. So definitely a big miss there. A few things there is just not coming up with the second option for the carousel when I'm planning and looking ahead at it. And also having thrown that cloak on Trundle as early as I did. That's what I think both Guinsoo's and Deathblade would have been really good on Trundle at this point in the game. And just kind of a miss there. I do end up taking the QSS, the double QSS, to pop the item off, and considering putting that Last Whisper up on Trundle. But this is actually really important, so I'm going to pause this real quick and talk about this here. So I decide to pop the QSS off of Trundle. I know that you can't have two QSSs on a champion. Those are unique items. QSS in this particular comp, with all these 3-star units with space for additional items, is just going to be a pretty good item overall. I think I actually end up putting it on Vi and not Zac. But what I'm looking ahead towards is this last item that I'm probably going to be able to get at 5-7 against the Dragon. And my goal here is to create a new item slot for Trundle, so that I can itemize him with Last Whisper or potentially a different item, and also just creating a QSS again that's a good item for other units. So I don't end up placing this item on either unit for now. I'm lose streaking, so I'm okay losing again here. I have a ton of HP. I don't need this win to win the game. I think I end up losing anyway, but again, not super concerned with losing this particular fight, and I decide that I'm going to be willing to take a loss streak into the PvE round on stage 5 here with as much health as I do, to make sure that I can use these two items and my last item I get as optimally as possible. So again, being willing to sacrifice some HP here towards the end of the stage to lose streak, win back a little bit of gold, but also to make optimal use of items. So I wouldn't, basically what I'm saying is I don't want to apply the Last Whisper to Trundle at this particular point and lose the ability to pull a Runeens or something like that off of the Elder Dragon, or a Titans, or some other item that is close to optimal there, because I've already put the Last Whisper on, who, because of Weak Spot, doesn't really do much for my team. So weird pathing from Trundle there. Kind of strange that he didn't attack Katarina, who was optimally Enforcered. I don't know if that's an Enforcer interaction that I'm just not aware of, but very close fight here. Actually a little bit happy to lose this, especially sitting at 30 gold already, to keep that win streak going, get a little bit of additional economy here. And I hit a Zephyr, which I am always very happy to hit a Zephyr on the late game. Probably one of my favorite. Zephyr and Shroud, I think, even in the Diamond and into Master sections of the ladder, are very undervalued on carousels and PvE rounds alike. One of the strongest items, I think, to get on any given comp at this particular point in the game. So especially on this particular team comp, where there is a lot of item flexibility, and I can actually use this selectively. So you'll see what I'm about to do here as we approach some of the final rounds of the game, is I can use the Zephyr very selectively. I have a ton of item spots open, and I can, on a per round basis, really kind of intentionally target a particular spot. So I do go to level 18 or level 8 here on 6-1. So I go in on level 8. I'm looking for Jinx. The ideal unit is Jinx, again, to complete Scrap and Sister. But really, at this particular point, just looking for a unit that I can get some value out of. So I hit Taric, which is a pretty good unit overall to roll here because it gives me Socialite in a really good Trundle spot, and it also gives me an additional Enchanter. Not a ton of magic in this lobby, but there is an Assassin player, and that's nice. I realize also I have Mundo 1, so I start looking. I grab onto the Mundo pair here, but was missing the Mundo pair. So, and at this point, I put the QSS on Vi here and the Last Whisper on Zac. And you'll see a lot of high elo players do this often with the Zephyr, but I really just can't recommend how powerful this is enough, especially late in the game. The ability to just remove one unit from the round far outweighs inefficient item usage of the Zephyr. I see people get scared that they're putting the Zephyr onto a unit that maybe isn't the one they think they should, and I am able to just remove a player from the game just by Zephyring his Kog'Maw. It's fortunate for me that the Zephyr goes on Taric in that particular case, because Taric is the most dispensable unit to the comp, but I would have put that Zephyr happily on any unit in the composition here to Zephyr the enemy's carry. So in this particular case, willing to sell the Taric, even though I have Socialite and Enchanter, to just put in a Ziggs just to add Scrap. 4 Scrap is just quite a big boost here, especially with as many components as I have at this particular point in the game. So I throw Scrap in. I do some scouting here to see where the opponent is putting their carries, and I vacate the Socialite spot to create the opportunity to Zephyr Ziggs, and end up holding on to the Zephyr. That was a mistake, and it was almost certainly a better move to just Zephyr Ziggs regardless and to just remove a unit from the fight. Brain froze there. That is a pure mistake. I end up getting pretty lucky with some targeting here and just have a totally overloaded Trundle at this point, and it managed to win the fight. I'm also up against a Ghost there, and I actually think that is what my main thinking was. Is once I realized I was up against a Ghost, I realized I was unlikely to lose that fight. Definitely was a lot closer than I probably would have expected, but end up just holding on there. Grab a Ziggs pair just in case I have the opportunity to 2-star. And I don't, but I get Blitzcrank, which is a better unit than Ziggs, so I throw Blitzcrank in. Never found Jinx, never was able to 2-star the Blitz, but I'm going up into the final fight here. So just checking on positioning here. Definitely looking to optimize the use of my Zephyr. And he doesn't end up doing anything. Nothing moves around. So very easy to just remove the Yone from the fight. Willing to put that Zephyr on Trundle at this particular point. Again, I think easy sometimes to maybe think that you want to hold on to that Zephyr. What if this isn't the last fight and we go into the carousel next round and I get an opportunity to put a better item on Trundle? If you have the opportunity in a fight that can win the game to remove the enemy carry from the game completely, it pretty much always makes sense to do so. So we do end up with the first place here, and that is the end of the video. So again, I think this comp is extremely strong. Obviously, Trundle and Vi is of no surprise to anybody, but this variation here with the Chemtech Lysandra Zac role that is included in this, I think can just be extremely powerful. I think it allows for more flexibility on your Trundle items, and it allows you a lot more flexibility with your augments and items in general. You have ultimately at least 3 different carries that can really be itemized here and itemized differently in Trundle, Vi, and Lysandra with this particular comp, and you have a lot of flexibility on a game-to-game basis over what particular carry you end up using. I did not hit an econ-based augment that entire game. There was no trade sector, there was no hyper roll, there was nothing like that. I was still able to hit a lot of these 3-star units. Some of these units were probably high rolled. I probably had the good fortune of having a game where things kind of came to me pretty easily, but I do think we are seeing really an optimal version of this comp now sprouting up, and you can see this I don't think it's a very popular build at this particular point, but we see the average placement of this comp is pretty ridiculous at this particular point, and I think we will continue to see this be the preferred version of this build, at least until the newest patch comes out. So I hope this video was helpful. I'm planning on putting out a lot more content here in the near future. If you have any questions or comments or thoughts of how I can make this better or how I can put out better videos in the future, let me know in the comments. Hit that subscribe button and the notification bell to get notified when I put new videos out, and I will catch you all next time. See ya.